Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
I'm Jack Luffman. Hello, Stu.
Hi, Jack.
Having a party there.
Well, yeah, I don't know which way to turn it. There you go.
Yeah.
Obviously it's belated celebrations for Jill's 40th, but she'll love the fact that I've mentioned that on the podcast. So
Yeah.
another 40th birthday party. But I'll tell you what, I'm just looking out the window to the right, and I daren't turn the camera because there might be some washing in show, and I'll only get in trouble for it later. But the weather is complete contrast from last week. It is chucking it down is the best way to describe it. It is hammering it.
Because you're now back in Preston, aren't you? Back in your homeland.
I am, yes. I'm at the mother-in-law's. We're back in Preston. So we've had what I can only describe as a whirlwind few days. So it's been pretty manic. But yeah, we're back in Preston now, and it is typical English summertime weather. I'm looking outside and I'm just literally looking at how heavy it is chucking it down.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, how's the sandbox?
Yeah, still warm. Still think I'm not going to let too much on. See where we are next week. But yeah, we've booked some flights, so we're gonna toddle off somewhere tomorrow morning, I think. So that's pretty exciting.
Excellent.
Yes, I think you've been there before, actually. So give people a bit of a clue if they were listening over Christmas, maybe. But
excellent.
Yeah, so we'll see. But we won't give too much away, and we'll see where I am next week.
Exciting times. But what have you been up to this week? Any more developments with the cricket, or is it pretty much just toddling along waiting for the season to start?
Just toddling along waiting for it to start, really, and getting some bits and bobs in order, trying to finalise some sponsorships, getting some more. So only this morning, actually, I had a concept through for the caps and all different things like that. So it's juggling a few balls, but momentum's still going really nicely. So yeah, all things going well, and probably looking at getting some friendlies in towards the end of August, beginning of September. So that's probably the next on the agenda.
Yeah, I did get asked yesterday, when does your season start? I did say late September, October.
Yeah, I think the DSL start, you're about right. I think they're talking middle of September, but it won't be. It'll be the end of September, October time until April, yeah. That wouldn't have been, because I had a little whisper that maybe you ended up at a place where I know too well yesterday. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know how. I can't say I just happened to find it because it's in the back of Beyond. But yeah, I was in the mighty Lincolnshire, as you call it, God's County. It's a bit like being back in Ireland. Country roads, crazy drivers, lots of hills. But yeah, I ended up in Woodhall Spa. I actually ended up at Woodhall Spa Cricket Club. And your dad invited me to come and say hello to him, so I popped in on the way down to Lincoln. I'll explain a bit more about that in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed to sit there with your dad, and he was doing his scoring for the cricket game, which he does it in a slightly bizarre way. But obviously, the way he does it, he's really, really good. So he has a different colour pen for different bowlers. So then you can actually track people scoring and the overs and things like that much easier, which I thought was a little bit of an ingenious idea. But yeah, he was there with his array of multicolored pens, and he was using the electronic scoreboard as well.
Oh my goodness.
So, lots of caps. And then I met the owner, Nige. He took me, I wanted to go get drinks. So your dad sent him to the bar to get me a drink. Your dad actually bought it, actually. So
did he? Well, I mean, you were privileged. You were privileged.
Yeah, it was only because they had no change. Your dad had forgot to bring the kitty, I think. So they had no change behind the bar.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
How's it looking? How's the ground looking? Good?
Yeah, it's looking really well. We had a little bit of rain, so they stopped for 10 minutes, but they weren't happy because they've just had a new roller arrive. And it's getting wet. So I don't think your dad was very happy the fact that the new roller was getting a little bit wet.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was good. They played RAF, one of the RAF teams in a friendly. So Woodhall were very much a young pup team. There was a couple of seniors in there, but then very much made up of school kids and university and college lads, with maybe 2 or 3 older guys in there. Bish was captain for the day. But to be fair, I thought Woodhall had put quite a low score on the board, but RAF were struggling a little bit. They needed 98 off 20 overs. So I was thinking they could just coast through this, but then they lost a couple of key wickets. So RAF were really struggling at that point. So I don't know how it finished, but when I left, I would say Woodhall were in prime position to win the game.
Oh, there you go. No doubt you were Well, you did. You sent me some pictures of some rogues on the wall, eh?
Oh, I can't believe how white you were. I thought Harry was white, and then I saw these pictures on the wall, and I was like, it's Casper the Ghost. But yeah, I tell you what, if nothing else, you've definitely got a bit of a tan going on.
Oh,
but,
there we go.
Yeah, it's a nice little cricket ground, but yeah, in a really bizarre place because I ended up going into the campsite next door by accident first.
Yeah, in Jubilee Park. Yeah, did you actually get down the main street of the village at all?
Yeah, I drove through the main street of the village. Yeah, went past the golf course.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice little village for people in Preston. The probably easiest way to describe it's a bit like Bamber Bridge, just on the outskirts of a city. It's quite a quaint little village.
Yeah,
some nice little places.
Oh well, bit of nostalgia there, Stu. Bring a tear to my eye. Anyway, but you were in Lincoln or Lincolnshire, then you went on to Lincoln. Tell us all about that. You mentioned it last week, but give us a bit more detail because
so the link. Yeah, so the link for the school was that we officially linked with GEMS WSO with Lincoln City Football Club. Part of the policy is to take or have a look at some of our talented footballers. We couldn't find any, so I took Harry. So yeah, Harry actually played in a friendly against Chesterfield last night at Lincoln. Really good because I met Jez George, the director of football, beforehand. He took us to the new training facility, which is really, really nice. It's across the road from the RAF base where they actually host the Red Arrows. We took the wrong turn, so we actually saw one of the Red Arrows parked up, which was a nice detour. But yeah, the facilities is really nice, and they've got lots of space around it to build up. So I think the idea, and Jez was saying to me, is that they want to go for Category 2, and the idea is they would then build extension pitches on, so they'll be able to host the 16s, 15s, 14s, and then eventually work their way down to the lower age groups and have it all on one site. But yeah, really good. It's where the first team plays, so we've got to have a look at the first team change rooms. Harry was in a bit of awe about it, nicely decorated. I got a nice little picture with Jez actually, with the Lincoln badge in the background. But yeah, really good, just strengthening links. I had a good chat with the sports scientists that were on site, and had a bit of a chat about maybe them coming into school at some point. So they were mega excited just to come to Dubai, never mind coming into the classroom. Yeah,
the boys who came before loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, so I think they were already booking the flights by the time I'd left. But yeah, it was good, and then we went on to playing this football match. Harry didn't look out of place. He played really well, some nice touches. Managed to get on the score sheet twice, so did really well. So it was a bit of a proud dad moment. Got some pictures. I actually got a picture of him half smiling. So that alone is a momentous occasion on its own. But,
I did see that. He must have done well.
Yeah, and then in the car on the way home, because it's a good. It was 3 hours to get to Woodhall and 2.5 to get back to Preston, and then in the car on the way home, he just gave the little dig, and he was like, "Well, I think I've surpassed you in football." I said, "Why is that?" Then he's like, "I've scored 2 goals for a pro club and you haven't." Well, that's not very nice. So I gave the little dig back. Where I was like, "When you've scored in the FA Cup, come back and talk to me, kid." Yeah, but
a good experience for him, and I'm assuming he'll get some sort of feedback or.
Yeah, so the plan of action now is that the academy director of the older age groups is going to give me a call and get some feedback from the coach Lee last night. But I think we both know, he did really well last night. There's elements of his game that he needs to improve on, which we both were fully aware of as the game went on. But he's been putting some hard graft in the last month or so with gym work and more running and fitness. And I'd say definitely last night looked like it's improved. His touch looked sharp, and obviously took one with his right foot and one with his left foot, so he's really happy and nearly had a header right at the beginning of the game, so he almost had the perfect hat trick. But yeah, it was. If nothing else, it's just a great experience for him. So
yeah, definitely.
All good on that front.
Good. But while we've been off, I think we've both been a bit glued to the Olympics. Strange time watching it here, although probably a bit easier than back in the UK when it's 8 hours ahead. But you've picked out what's been your moment of the Olympics so far, or the sport of the Olympics?
I just love, and I don't want to sound disrespectful, but it's a bit like trash TV, where you can just literally flick on, and I just watch our sport, and I flick off to a different sport, and I just go bounce back and forth. So I was watching shooting this morning, which was really intriguing. It was clay pigeon shooting.
We got a bronze in that, didn't we?
Bronze medal, yeah. I watched that actual final, which is a strange thing. So what they do is they have 20 shots, and the lowest person with the score gets kicked out. And then it leaves them with like 6 more players. Then 5 shots, another one gets kicked out, and then 5 more shots, and they keep dropping every 5 shots. So Yeah, we came away with the bronze, and it was 2 Czech Republic guys against each other in the final playoff. But watched that. I watched a little bit of the slalom canoeing where we got a silver medal.
Yeah.
The Australian girl was unbelievable. But my go-to one this week, I've been glued to, is the rugby sevens. I watched Fiji absolutely destroy Team GB, and I thought Team GB would be really, really strong contenders, and Fiji were just another level. So then I watched GB beat America in the quarterfinals and qualify for the semis. Then they lost to New Zealand.
Yeah.
New Zealand went through to play Fiji. But the interesting one was before the final, New Zealand beat Australia by 2 points. Fiji beat Australia by 17 or 18 points and didn't concede a point against them. So it already tells you what level Fiji are at. Anyway, Fiji went on and won the final convincingly, I think 27-something against New Zealand, which alone is just a phenomenal achievement. But they have got some big, strong, powerful players, Fiji. And then unfortunately, GB lost the bronze medal game to Argentina, of all people.
Yeah, but they've had a bit of a rocky road, don't they, the Team GB or the players, because they've had, during COVID, obviously, as individual nations on the World Tour, obviously the World Tour, as we well know, the Dubai Sevens was binned, that actually their programs and their funding's gone, hasn't it? So they've been doing nothing.
Yeah, I'd still say though, if you're combining, like England and Wales always do well in the sevens. So
when
you're combining the better players from the sevens, I was expecting us to be fighting for gold medals, but obviously, I would say if you look back on it, I think we're a little bit disappointed to lose to Argentina in the bronze, and I think bronze might have been a fair reflection on where we are in regards to the thing. But honestly, if you can get back to watch the highlights, Fiji are just a step above. And now you can say Fiji a step above New Zealand when you compare it to the 15s is non-existent. But yeah, that's been my standout. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm a bit like you though. You always bring back memories, isn't it, of Olympics? Even when I was a kid, and I think I've said to you before, like my dad's a big into athletics and therefore the Olympics as a whole. Excuse me. And you're right that you can just sit and watch anything, and that I quite like the highlight show that I've been picking up on. And you dip in and out everything. I saw a bit of the women's softball final, which is a bit of a non-entity. Japan actually beat America. I think they're the 2 powerhouses. But the way they pitch the ball is absolutely bizarre. I don't know if you've seen it. They actually, like, the women actually wind up and then go. So that was quite entertaining. But I think I've just picked up on 2 performances. I think really, I think you can't look past Adam Peaty in the pool. I mean, obviously GB are going well in the pool, but he is a phenomenon. He's not been beaten in 7 years, and in his discipline, he holds now the 16 fastest times of all time, and so calm, matter of fact about it all. It's just phenomenal, and I don't think, I know we've talked in the past on the pod about people like Lewis Hamilton and that. Not sure he gets the credit he deserves, and hopefully, I don't know if he's back in the pool. He must be back in the pool doing some sort of relay, I'd have thought. And see if we get some more medals there. But in the pool, we're doing well. And then you can't look past Charlotte Dujardin, who has got 2 bronze medals this week in the team and individual dressage in the equestrian, which makes the most decorated female Olympian of all time for Team GB, which again is a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah, I'll go back to the softball thing in a minute. I've got a good story about softball. But how do you get a medal for the horse doing all the work?
Oh dear, you're going to cause some issues there. With questions quite popular amongst Dubai. They've obviously, the thing is, I actually know a little bit about this because my sister-in-law, as you know, is that she teaches equestrian. So over time, I've actually watched. So I remember in 2012 actually watching the team equestrian. I think we got gold with Michelle, and obviously they'll tell you as horsey people that yes, the horse do a lot of the work, but that it's all about the rider as well, or the jockey, or the don't know what you call it. But anyway, she's the most decorated, alongside or just pipped Catherine Granger, obviously the rower, who's doing a bit of the analysis at the moment. So yeah, I think disappointingly, Team GB, before your little softball story, is that we've not been particularly good on the water, which is usually a strength. The rowers now, they're talking about there's a bit of transition and things like that. But I mean, I've never seen a Team GB boat go off course like the team 4 did the other night. So a little bit disappointed.
Well, I was going to say, I think we've had, is it 4 fourths on the rowing?
Yeah, worst place to finish that. Got to be the worst place to finish.
We're out of shadow.
Yeah.
We're out of shadow. Right, I'll quickly tell you my softball. So I was in America, and we watched a couple of softball games, and we watched the girls do that. So they do the wind up, swinging around, and then they release it, and they absolutely fire it out, and they got some speeds. So we managed to get this baseball, and it had a little speedometer inside it. So we're throwing it around, and then somebody says, we should have a go at what the girls do with the softball. And right where we were staying, we were staying in this house in New Mexico, and by the side of the house, they actually had their own little farm. They had chickens and a goat or something like that in the farm. So I'm winding up as fast as I can, and I let go of it. But because I'm winding, I've never done it before, I've let go of it at a wrong angle. And rather than going in a straight angle straight towards you, Jack, it's gone up and over towards the farm. And as I'm going up, this has gone up so high because of the bad angle. As it's coming down, there's a chicken walking around the pen, isn't there?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, please don't. So this little chicken's bobbing around, the ball's coming down. And it literally bounces here over the top of the chicken and lands the other side of the chicken. And I was like, it was millimeters off killing this chicken. So I confessed to the family, I said, I'm really sorry. I said, I nearly killed one of your chickens. Response was, it's all right, would have just eaten it.
Yeah, good bit of Kentucky Fried. You'd have been all right. What was the speedometer? Did you get on the speedometer on it or not?
I think the fastest we can get it to, and this was out because we couldn't record that one. It was just a shocking throw. But when we threw it, we were getting about 50-something miles an hour, and the baseball guys throw it 100, don't they?
Yeah. Then.
So yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, also very, very dangerous. I'm highly dangerous with a softball.
With a softball.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on to football. I'm going to start off with this. I don't know if you've caught this much, but Celtic crashed out last night.
I did.
Against FC Midtjylland, 2-1 in extra time. And I watched the interview this morning on Sky Sports, and they interviewed the Celtic manager, the new guy. Is he an Australian?
Yeah. He is.
An Aussie
Strange appointment. Strange appointment.
And they were like, "Oh, you club's in crisis now," and it's like, we are not in crisis. That's ridiculous. But for a club of that stature in Scotland, they need to be getting to at least the group stages, don't they, in the Champions League? And then he didn't criticise anybody else other than himself, saying that it's my fault I've not pushed further on transfers. And I was listening to a story about him yesterday, and they're saying that, is it really his fault, or has Neil Lennon left him with a squad that's not even capable of competing?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like there's going to be some movement between Rangers and Celtic again, isn't there? And I think Celtic, from the outside looking in, and not a massive, love of Scottish football or whatever, but it looks to me like they've got a bit complacent. And I think that's Neil Lennon. I don't think Neil Lennon's ever been any good as a coach or manager. I think what he talks about and the way he acts, not a big fan. So I think there's an element of he's left him with some dross. They've not improved. They've stood still. I think it's a strange appointment. When you look at what he's achieved, a little bit bizarre. I know that Rangers went for Gerrard, who hadn't been any manager, but at least he was a name. And you knew that he would bring people in, straight away brings Defoe in on loan pretty much. Straight away there's a big name. So strange appointment for me. And like you say, they're in a bit of they look like they're in a real tricky situation in terms of they're at the Champions League. How well will they actually do in the Europa League? Probably not very well with that squad of players. And of course the bread and butter of the domestic scene looks like Rangers are going to have the wood on them again. So I did see the result, and I saw an interesting fact that apparently, and I don't know, I say a fact, a maybe fact, but apparently that a few years ago, Celtic spent £4 million on some special lighting for Champions League nights, and they're yet to use them because they've never got to the group stage.
Oh my goodness, that's
unbelievable. I don't know how true it is. But,
I watched the highlights this morning, and before it even gone to extra time, Celtic should have been 2-0 up. Forrest has missed an absolute sitter after them being 1-0 up. And I think literally from the next attack, they're going to score. So it's small margins, isn't it?
Yeah,
but they look like a club that potentially in crisis, in transition, whichever way you look at it. But I think it doesn't bode well for them in the Scottish League this year. A couple of other things I've picked up on. I've got a few transfer rumours. Obviously, with the transfer of Varane being confirmed,
Yeah.
That is, as a Liverpool fan, it's a worrying sign that is that then they're looking. If Maguire carries on his form, Luke Shaw carries on his form, and you bring Varane into the section, and Wan-Bissaka's not the worst right back in the Premiership. He's probably about fifth or sixth best Premiership right back, but that's because we're blessed with so many good right backs. That is a squad there. That's a good defensive line, you would say, at least. I'd say they just need to iron out the goalkeeping issue, who they're going to go with, and plough some confidence in that goalkeeper.
Yeah, they've got 3 decent keepers, though. Where do you think Heaton, De Gea, and then Heaton is not the worst at all.
I think for me, I would maybe just plough with Henderson and just De Gea's had his day and his time. Henderson's going to be the future, and Heaton's your backup.
I agree.
And maybe try and offload. But then you look at the midfield, the strong in midfield, provided they don't play McTominay and Fred. And then going forward, they're going to have options now with Sancho coming in. I'd say they're missing potentially a natural goal scorer because Cavani will come in and only play a bit parts for them, but he will score. But yeah, they could do it. Maybe the lineup is Greenwood that goes into that position at some point because he can use both feet and he's a good goal scorer.
Yeah, I think he's the most natural goal scorer out there, bar Cavani. I think he's more natural than anybody else. So yeah, they look. Dare I say it, they do look fairly strong, albeit they've had some 2 or 3 bad results in pre-season friendlies this last week, haven't they? But what you read into that?
I don't read it. It's just game time for people. Yeah. But the interesting thing is, just on the back of the Varane signing, and they were hoping that. I think the belief is that if they can get Varane in there, that's going to help secure Pogba to stay. But this is a strange one I'm reading right now, is that United are ready to receive an offer of about 45-50 million for Pogba. And surely he was a £100 million player 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. I would get rid. Even if it's they're going to make a loss on him. They're not going to get 100 million or whatever they paid for him. I think there's no doubt about it. People who listen to podcasts, I think he can play. There's no doubt about that. But has he done what he's done elsewhere in a red shirt since his return? For me, no. There's always this debate about is he staying, is he not staying, his behaviour, blah, blah, blah. For me, if Ollie's trying to build something, and we've just talked about those signings or how they're looking, yes, there's undoubtedly that he's a better player than McTominay and Fred and 1 or 2 others in there, but I'd get rid of me. Cut my losses, get rid, build a proper team who all go in the same direction.
I tell you, it was an interesting one. I'll ask you this question because Hector Bellerin is quite a focus with regards to him leaving. How old do you think Hector Bellerin is?
Oh, I don't know. He's been around a while, hasn't he? But I don't know, 26, 27?
He's spot on. He's exactly 26. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, God, he's got to be older than that. But he seems to have been around years, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, Hector Bellerin is potentially Inter Milan, but I think he's a dead set. I thought he was going to head to Spain, but I think he's a dead set for him leaving. He's out the window. Chelsea have now decided to maybe just change their angle slightly. Haaland doesn't look that likely. They're now probing Bayern Munich for Lewandowski. Wow. So the thought process now is that maybe Dortmund. What a good thing about Dortmund is if they say they're not going to sell, they don't sell. They kind of stick to their guns with regards to that. But Tottenham have been linked with Dusan Vlahovic.
Yeah, so
Fiorentina, Serbian 21-year-old striker in the region of 50 million. If that happens, is that it? Is he definitely gone?
No. Well, they're talking about the fact that they want him as a support striker for Kane now. But my opinion, and I'll still stand by it, that I think Kane to City is a done deal. I've said that for 6 weeks now. I think it's a done deal. It's all right, Nuno saying I'm looking forward to working with Kane. Of course, he's going to say that. Kane has never come out in the public and said I want to leave, but I think it's fairly obvious that he wants to go win trophies, and I'm adamant that's a done deal. So while they're saying that this striker could be a backup, I think you'll find that he could well be, the new target man, if you like. In pre-season, again, what you made of it, Spurs have gone up reasonably well, and he's been playing Son down the middle with Bergwijn and more wide with Dele backing number 10 and they look to be playing reasonably well. Again, read into it what you like, probably not a lot, but at least they're scoring goals and getting game time. So, I don't know. I think Kane's going to go. As rumours have started again, I don't know that the City are going to swoop this week for Grealish and Kane because they're both due back at their clubs on Monday. So then that's when the hard balling will start. But we'll wait and see. But Spurs have done quite a nice little bit of business with the goalkeeper. I think by all accounts he's really good. Got him on loan with an option to buy, and Hart and Celtic actually they reckon could be on the card, which I would say would be a good move for both of those. And then we've got this the lad from looks like the character of The Big Bang Theory from Sevilla with Lamela going the other way, young lad who looks decent. He's an actual winger though, so I'm not sure how that fits in with a system. But and then obviously there's this ongoing scenario with the centre half at Atlanta, where I think it comes down to what we're willing to pay. I think.
And you've got Alderweireld left as well, hasn't he?
He's gone to Qatar, so not far away from us. We'll probably see a bit of him in and around Dubai, no doubt. Rumour had it was 13 million, but now it's saying that the initial fee was only 3 million.
Yeah, I was having the same conversation with your dad yesterday, and I was like, I'm sure it's 13 million. He's like, no way has anybody paid that much for him. And then I've read the same that it looks like it's initial fee of 3 million.
Yeah. And look, I think Vertonghen than that. It's the rebuild that Pochettino talked about after we lost to you boys in the Champions League final, and it's now happening 3 years later. So I think Toby Alderweireld has been absolutely world class for us. Always have done a rating, but there's no doubt that over the course of the last 2 seasons, he's lost that edge in all aspects. At the end of the day, he's 30, 32, 33, 34, something like that. So
yeah, he's 32. The last one I want to mention, I think it's a bit of a strange transfer, is Arsenal looking at Maddison around the region of 70 million.
Yeah.
Are you looking at that as an Arsenal team and thinking this is going to improve our squad and potentially push us into that? Because let's be honest, Arsenal now need to think the first goal now is to get that top 6. Then it should be how can we close the gap from 6th into 4th because they've dropped so far behind. Is Maddison going to do that for them?
Not for me, because you've got to think that, he can play, and he's obviously had these peaks and troughs, I think, at his time at Leicester. But what you've got to think about, and as I know you'd have your own opinion on Rodgers and things like that, but in the last, third of the season, Leicester he was injured. He didn't play, yet Leicester still managed to finish where they did. So, would he have made that massive difference? I don't think so. I think he comes in and out of games too much. And I certainly wouldn't be spending 70 million on him. Absolutely no way. Leicester will sell him. If they come in, Leicester will sell him. Rodgers will sell him and bring in. He'll have somebody earmarked, won't he? He'll come in and fill the void. But strange one there for me.
Yeah. Right. We'll move on because I've picked out some young pups that are entering into, I would say, like deciding time if they're going to be able to cut the grade with some of the clubs that they're at. So I've picked out 2 or 3 pups that hopefully will make the impact. I'm not going to talk about Gilmore because we mentioned Gilmore last week. I think we've talked about him and we already know what he brings to the table. So Gilmore would be one of them players if we hadn't spoken about him last week. But the first one is a guy called Moises Caicedo that's just signed for Brighton. Seemed to have got him last transfer window at 4 million. The idea, I think, was that they would bring him in and they would give him some game time and then eventually move in. But the reports are that he's been absolutely fine in the under-23s and he could be ready for first-team action this season. But he plays the same position as Basuma. Right. So if Basuma was to move on, I think we'd probably see this guy. He's an Ecuadorian guy, a little bit more in game time. But I've got a feeling we'll see him and we'll see what comes to light team. But he's a highly rated. And there was a lot of big European clubs looking at him, and somehow Brighton managed to get there first. Of all
I know there's been some talk of Basuma moving on, hasn't there? I think Arsenal, Liverpool
had a look sniffing him at one point,
yeah. So it still could happen, I guess.
Yeah, the other one is an interesting one. I think it very much depends on what happens now with Harry Kane. Is striker at Man City, Liam Delap. Again, he's absolutely sought after. He's been absolutely class. They bought him from Derby in 2018. Scored 24 times in 20 games for the under-23s last season. Scored in the Carabao Cup last year against Bournemouth. So if if City don't bring Kane in, are they going to be looking at developing Liam Delap? And the question mark is would this be one of Pep's first ever really youthful players that they've brought through and developed?
Foden, you'd say, other than Foden.
Yeah. So
I saw him playing that Carabao Cup. He's the son of Rory Delap, isn't he? I believe. Yeah. So obviously gets on the end of his dad's long throws in the garden. But it looks. It's interesting that, because if he's not going to get used or they sign somebody, he'd be better off going out on loan somewhere, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe they do what they did with Foden, is that they just bring him bit parts, but you'd be hoping to get a bit more game time. Lad from Manchester United, this is the guy that they bought, I think, last January. Ahmad, I don't know how you pronounce it. It might be Diallo or Dililo. They bought 19 million from Atlanta last season. And he's classed as one of the most exciting things. But I just wonder how on earth this lad's going to fit in when you've got the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Greenwood, Martial. So I don't know how much game time is he actually going to get. But again, he's another highly rated one. So maybe he might be one that goes to another Premiership team on loan that we might see signs of.
There is talk of Martial leaving, though, isn't there, still? And obviously Rashford, I don't know if he's definitely going to have that. There's talk of him having that op, isn't there, or 2 ops or something, and could be out till October. So there might be a little bit of a window there for the lad.
Yeah, the last 2, I'll go one from Liverpool, one from Spurs. I'll go with Liverpool one first. And this guy excites me every time I see him play. It's Harvey Elliott. Went on loan at Blackburn Rovers. He bought him from Fulham, went on loan at Blackburn Rovers, 11 assists and scored 7 goals in his loan spell at Blackburn Rovers. The guy has got talent. I just don't know where he fits into Liverpool's system, because we tend to play with really pacey wingers, and Harvey Elliott is a type of winger, but he's more of a Grealish style winger where he picks the ball up and he'll dribble and he'll cut in and create. So I don't know if he then maybe looks at, if they change the formation, he comes more central. He seems to be more of like the Coutinho cloth, that type of player that'll pick it up in the pocket, create a bit of space and create something on the end of it. But I'd love to see him get some game time this season and see how well he does. And the Spurs lad, I'm going to go with Oliver Skip.
Yeah.
He's got to be on the peripheral of getting some game time. Went to Norwich last year, 45 appearances, goal, 2 assists, but he's more a combative midfielder, isn't he? He's going to get stuck in and win the ball back.
He won their Player of the Year award, and I think he was in the Team of the Year for the league, or pretty close to, if not. He played all the pre-season friendlies. By all accounts, been very, very good. I've seen some clips of his passing and his tackling. I think so. I think he's got to go. I think there's rumour that, last night in the game at MK Dons, neither Dyer or Winks travelled. Now, the rumour is that Dyer's carried a bit of an injury, but Winks is on the verge of a transfer. And I think that's the obvious one. If Winks does go, and there's also talk of Sissoko moving on, if those two go, or one of those two, then Skip 100% comes in. And I think I think I said last week, Norwich definitely want to take him back on loan. And I think another couple of clubs, and they've said no. So if they're saying no, he's got to be given game time. Simple as that. And he looks class. And I know Mourinho highlighted him when he first went as a future captain of the club. And that's why he said he didn't have enough. He had too many squad members to give him game time, go on loan to Norwich last year. So we shall see. But I'm pretty excited by him, actually. And I just hope he does get some game time.
Yeah, so a few guys out there, have a look out for these young pups for next season. I don't anticipate anybody starting, but hopefully they'll get integrated into squads as the season goes on and get a little bit of exposure and hopefully build for the future. But Definitely. We're going to finish off with the Racing League, Jack. I have no idea what this is or anything about it.
Yeah, so I'd actually read a little bit about it a few weeks back, but then this week it sort of come up. So tonight, so Thursday night, so as people listen to this, last night was the start of the Sky Racing League. So basically, in a nutshell, they've kind of gone with a bit of a team thing, so a bit like the IPL or the Premier League of football, the Premier League of darts. So basically, you've got 6 weeks of racing, then over the next 6 weeks at night racing on a Thursday night. There's 12 teams of 3 jockeys, and they've all got weird and wonderful names, but there's like Team Talk Sport, there's Team eToro, and the 12. Each team has 3 jockeys, 2 to 4 trainers, and then 1 team manager. Now, the team manager is not necessarily a horse specialist. So, for example, one of the teams, Charlie Austin, the QPR striker, is a team manager, and Alan Brazil is the team manager of TalkSport. Obviously, both well into their horses and own horses and blah blah blah, but not necessarily horsey people. Just like the commentary team, so it's being led by Alex. Can't think of her name now. The Sky Racing.
I know you're about
Alex Hammond.
Yeah.
But then there's some celebrity. I think she's a model who I'd never really heard of, but apparently into horses. She's presented it along with Michael Holding and David Lloyd, the cricket commentators, who again both horsey people. So there's a clear kind of trying to get, I guess, the masses involved in it to a degree. There's a £2 million prize fund for the winning team at the end of the 6 weeks, £50,000 stake in all races. At each race, 12 horses will race. So obviously 1 jockey from each team in each race, and points 10 to 1. So the top 10 all score points, 11th and 12th get nothing. And then obviously at the end of the 6 weeks, the leading team take the prize. After 4 weeks, you like this, Stu. After 4 weeks, there's a transfer window where they can transfer in horses in and out.
Nice. So tonight, with it being the first one, so is there 6 races or only like 3 races?
No, 6 races each night, I believe.
Okay. And that's every Thursday for next week. 6 weeks.
Tonight starts. So Thursday night or last night, if you're listening, was at Newcastle, and there are all over different lengths as well. Each week there are races over all the different distances, up until a mile and 2 furlongs, I think, is the longest one. Can't just remember. But yeah, it actually, and they're all going to be in team colours, like their silk's going to be team colours rather than their owners and things like that. So quite know how they've got the trainers and the owners on board. I'm guessing they're going to be supplementing a little bit with money, because obviously usually it's an individual kind of event, isn't it? But yeah, it's all the top jockeys. So Murphy, the current champion jockey, Holly Doyle, obviously won the Goodwood as well the other night. She's involved. So all the top jockeys involved, the Tory, all the top trainers, and yeah, so it looks quite good on paper. So just see how it does, and clearly, like I say, a way of trying to get racing to the masses, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'll look out for that.
So
I tell you, I did go past. I went past Market Raisin yesterday.
Oh yeah.
That's tiny. It's like, just looks like a village field.
Yeah, so you know when I said that when Barrichello was running there and it was sort of semi during lockdown, Dad said he was going to go and park up and watch it. That's why he could.
Yeah, bizarre.
Yeah. So yeah,
interesting.
You never know. Maybe we should have adopted a team for the racing league, but
possibly.
Never mind.
I'll pick one after tonight.
Oh yeah, after whoever's top. Yeah, good work.
Yeah, but Jack, I'm intrigued. We'll look forward to next week because it'll be in a new destination, won't it?
It will. So we'll see what goes on. But
keep our eyes peeled.
Enjoy the rain today, Stu.
Well, I'm just looking out the window and it's still raining. It's not changing.
So it's a board game day then.
Possibly. I think we'll go down to Milms and see the dog. So we'll go take her out for a walk. She'll hate it. Yeah. Right, Jack. As always.
What do we know?